Welcome to Anime Recaps. In this video, we will explain Tokyo Ghoul Season 2. This anime tells the story of the existence of ghouls who feed on humans to survive, except that a ghoul organization called Aogiri Tree is going on a rampage and killing everyone in their sight. What is the story of the ghouls who are fighting for power? Let's find out in Tokyo Ghoul Season 2. Tokyo Ghoul Season 2 begins with Kaneki, who after eating Jason, joins the battle between CCG and Aogiri. Meanwhile, after the Onteku members sneak into battle, the manager begins to divert the attention of the CCG members, consisting of Kuroiwa, Amon, Shinohara, and Hirako, to make way for his group to save Kaneki. And although he was initially knocked back, the manager could put up a fierce fight thanks to his quick regeneration abilities. He even forced Kuroiwa and Shinohara to exert all the strength in their Quinque armor called Aratas, which are special protective suits made to fight ghouls. But instead of helping, the Arata that Shinohara wears backfires, because in exchange for the power given, the Arata eats the user himself. In another scene, Toka and Ayato immediately fought as soon as the two met. Toka was angry with her brother for joining Aogiri's organization, while Ayato still resented Toka for hanging out with humans. He thought Toka had forgotten her identity as a ghoul. The battle between the two siblings was finally won by Ayato, who then brutally ate Toka's Kagune. But luckily, just as she was about to be killed, Kaneki came to her rescue, though as a result, he couldn't avoid a fight with Ayato. Kaneki himself was trying to guess why Ayato joined Aogiri. One of his assumptions was that Ayato wanted to protect someone precious to him by being among the strong people. Whether Kaneki's guess was correct or not is unknown, but it was clear that Ayato was so angry that he intended to kill him. However, their battle is suddenly stopped by one member of the Aogiri tree, Noro, who immediately takes Ayato away before blowing up Aogiri's base. The explosion was indeed a trap that had been prepared by the Aogiri members to repulse the CCG members who were in the vicinity. After the war ended, Kaneki chose to join Aogiri. Kaneki's decision remained unchanged even though Toka had tried to prevent him because he was determined to become stronger. On the other hand, Hide comes to District 11 to look for Kaneki. He actually already knew that Kaneki had turned into a ghoul, but he didn't care about it. To him, Kaneki is still his friend. However, his search for Kaneki in District 11 yielded no satisfactory results. Because of that, he then decided to join CCG to find out about Kaneki's whereabouts. A few days after the war, CCG officials held a meeting to discuss the territory that had been taken by Aogiri. Based on their reports, the territory was conquered by the Aogiri team led by a ghoul who wore a patch over one eye, which was none other than Kaneki. Meanwhile, the members of Onteku are working together to tidy up the room to reopen their café. At this time, Toka was preparing for the university entrance exam, the same university where Kaneki and Hide studied. The scene then switches to Amon, who is visiting Mato's grave to report that he has now been promoted to a special investigator. However, when he returns to CCG headquarters, Amon finds an unexpected new partner, namely Akira, the daughter of the late Mato. The two of them are then assigned to investigate the case of District 20, the site of a brutal assault and the place where Kaneki first appeared. At the same time, Kaneki and Ayato plan to save a ghoul named Naki, who is being taken to Kakuya, a maximum security prison for ghouls. Naki himself is Jason's former right-hand man. He admires Jason very much and even considers him his own brother. However, he didn't know that Jason was dead, and now he really wanted to see him. But when Kaneki was on his way to save Naki, he was attacked by two twin ghouls named Kurona and Nashiro, who apparently only wanted to know Kaneki's fighting abilities. After that, they immediately left. The next day, Hinami meets Takatsuki-sensei, Kaneki's favorite writer. She asked Takatsuki-sensei to write Kaneki-ken's name in his book, because she planned to gift the book to Kaneki. But when Hinami mentioned Kaneki's name, a look of curiosity mixed with interest appeared on Takatsuki's face. Kaneki really can't completely disappear from people's lives even though he is now missing. Even when Toka and Nishiki visit the university, they find a flyer with Kaneki's photo on the notice board. And as if driven by fate, at that moment Toka met Hide, who was taking the leaflets off. Thanks to that meeting, they became acquainted and shared stories, especially stories related to Kaneki. From the two expressions, it was clear that they missed Kaneki. The person they missed was actually attacking the Kakuya prison together with Tatara, Ayato, and the leader of Aogiri named Edo, who is none other than Takatsuki-sensei. This attack coincides with Amon's visit to meet his adoptive father, Purpura, who is an SS-level ghoul, a level deemed so dangerous that he was imprisoned in Kakuya. Porpora once ran an orphanage, which contained orphans that he deliberately raised so he could eat them. But one day, Amon caught Porpora while he was killing children. Although strangely, he spared Amon's life, which continued to haunt Amon even as he grew up. Back in the present, now the Aogiri members have released the prisoners in Cochlea, overwhelming the CCG members there. Even Amon and Akira could not move against the barrage of resistance until finally Akira was cornered and Naki devoured her leg. Fortunately, in Akira's despair, Amon came to her aid. He then said the exact same thing as Mato had told him before, which to sacrifice your legs and arms if there is an enemy in front of you. Hearing the words of her late father, Akira immediately got back up. Meanwhile, on the third floor, Kaneki wants to save a prisoner named Kamishiro, or commonly known as Saji, who is none other than Rize's adoptive father. But as soon as he freed him, Saji suddenly attacked Kaneki because he smelled Rize's scent on his body. Kaneki, who is still a new ghoul, is definitely no match for Saji. The resistance he put in barely meant anything to Saji, whereas he ended up being quite badly injured. Luckily, before Saji killed Kaneki, Edo came to stop him. His defeat, however, made Kaneki feel down, to the point that he blamed himself for being weak. On the bright side though, his destructive thoughts and inability to protect his precious people fuel the growth of a new Kagune named Kakuja. On the other hand, Shinohara and Juzo arrived at Cochlea as reinforcements for CCG. As if getting a good chance, Juzo immediately attacked the prisoner ghouls with his new weapon, which came from Jason's Kagune that he had found earlier. After a while, he meets the ghoul twins Kurona and Nashiro, who used to be his classmates at the Investigative Academy. At that time, Kurona and Nashiro were still human and studied with Amon. A flashback scene then appears when one of their friends at the academy dies. Juzo didn't go to visit his funeral, and in fact he didn't even show any sadness or loss. Instead, he despised death, which earned the twin ghouls a grudge against him to this day, so no wonder a fierce battle ensued when they met. However, Kurona and Nashiro couldn't match Juzo, who cunningly also carried knives. When Kurona was off guard, she was hit by a knife attack, while Nashiro, who wanted to help her twin, had to sacrifice her hand to escape. Meanwhile, Shinohara met with Ayato while looking for Amon, so the fight between the two was inevitable. But in the middle of their fight, Ayato felt a strange feeling, which was soon answered when Shinohara put on his armor. The armor turned out to be from the Kagune belonging to Ayato's father. The discovery made him unable to focus during the fight, making him lose to Shinohara. But when Shinohara was about to kill Ayato, he was interrupted by Kaneki, who appeared with his new form. Although unfortunately, Kaneki still can't control his own abilities and emotions in his new form, which makes him unable to avoid Shinohara's fatal attack. But to Shinohara's shock, Kaneki then got back up while taking out his Kagune. Now Kaneki's Kagune has 6 tails, and he even imitates Jason's behavior by snapping his fingers. His abilities and movements improved greatly, so he managed to turn things around in a short amount of time. In the end, Kaneki defeated Shinohara, and he even ate his armor. But then suddenly, the alarm sounded, accompanied by the release of a CRC gas grenade, an experimental weapon made by CCG. If a ghoul inhaled the gas, its respiratory system and mucous membranes would be affected. Not only that, if the ghoul activates RC cells or cells that are the core of the formation of the Kagune in his body, the gas can damage the Kagune. In essence, ghouls should avoid CRC gas as much as possible. Along with the depletion of CRC gas, Amon saw that Shinohara had lost. His anger immediately exploded because he thought that Kaneki was eating Shinohara. And so, he attacked Kaneki and cut his Kakuja. Fortunately, in this precarious situation, Edo again comes to save the day. She immediately took Ayato and Kaneki away to escape from Amon. A few days after the Cochlea attack incident ended, Kaneki still couldn't control the activation of his shapeshifting or Kakuja, so even though he wasn't in combat mode, his centipede-like tail would sometimes appear and cause him pain. Not only that, but he also continues to be haunted by the shadows of Jason and Rize, and sometimes he remembers the moments of the fight in Cochlea prison. All of this made him even more miserable. The scene then switches to Amon, who is visiting Shinohara. Shinohara's condition is slowly getting better, and he can even warn Amon to be more careful with Kaneki. After visiting Shinohara, Amon and Akira went out for a drink to get over the heat. Perhaps because of the influence of alcohol, Akira tells Amon about her mother, who was killed by a ghoul nicknamed the One-Eyed Owl, whose real identity is Anteku's manager. And her father, who vowed to avenge her mother's death, failed to carry out his vows because he died fighting Toka and Hinami. Akira still can't accept her father's death, and she blames Amon for not being able to stop his death even though they were partners. Akira actually knew that her father was very proud to have a partner like Amon. She often heard him tell all about Amon, and she proved the truth of her father's words when she saw Amon fighting in Kakuya. He wasn't afraid at all, in contrast to Akira, who was completely helpless. But, even so, she still blames Amon for her father's death. Hearing that, Amon then calmed Akira. He felt she was right, he deserved the blame for her father's death. Maybe if he was stronger, he could help Mato then. But still, he couldn't change the past. So, in exchange, he promised he would protect Akira. But then, after all the impressive words Amon said, Akira fell asleep because she was too drunk, making Amon have to take her home. But on the bright side, the following day, she cooked breakfast for him as a thank you. From there, their relationship seems to be getting better. Sometime later, CCG officials again held a meeting. Now they knew that the leader of Aogiri was the one-eyed owl, who they assumed was Anteku's manager. They still didn't know the fact that there were actually two one-eyed owls, and the current leader of Aogiri was not the manager. But since they still didn't know about it, they devised a plan to attack Anteku and kill the manager. Elsewhere, Toka is shown studying really hard to prepare for the university entrance exam. But in her busy life, she still always thinks about Kaneki. And coincidentally, one day Hinami came to see her and said that Kaneki was meeting with the manager. Hearing that, she immediately rushed off until she finally met Kaneki at the pedestrian bridge. She wanted to talk to him about many things and convey her longing for him, but she couldn't do that well. Instead of confessing her true feelings for him, she beats him up. Meanwhile, Shinohara and Juzo were assigned to spy on Anteku first before CCG attacked. When they met, Shinohara actually had a hunch that the manager serving him was the one-eyed owl. But he still decided to talk to him and ask about Kaneki. To his surprise, the manager answered honestly that Kaneki had worked at Anteku, and he had even told Kaneki about his origins. So, long ago, the manager used to kill humans indiscriminately to survive, like most ghouls do. His brutality then spread widely in various directions, to the point that there was an organization that recruited him to kill ghouls and humans alike. Even so, he always felt alone and lonely. Because of that, the manager often visits a café. He was there so often that one of the employees there got to know him. The employee was a woman named Ukina. In contrast to his always secretive nature, the manager felt comfortable talking to Ukina, and gradually they fell in love with each other. Even though Ukina had found out that the manager was actually a ghoul, she still accepted it. And then, a miracle came after they got married. Ukina conceived and gave birth to a baby. The half-human and half-ghoul baby was none other than Edo. However, their happiness did not last long. Ukina is eventually killed by the ghouls who are after them. Losing his beloved wife, the manager certainly doesn't want his daughter to suffer the same fate, and therefore, he decided to secure her first somewhere before facing the ghouls. However, after defeating the ghouls and returning alive, his daughter disappeared to nowhere. Only a few years later, he finally heard the news about his daughter. She is now called the One-Eyed Owl, a ghoul that humans hate. Back in the present, the manager had already realized that CCG was about to attack Anteku. Because of that, he ordered Yomo to take Toka and Hinami to a safer place, while he alone with Irimi and Koma would fight the CCG troops. Koma leads his group, which is usually called Devil Ape, while Irimi's group is nicknamed Black Dog. Not long after, the CCG members were already preparing to surround Anteku, and with that, the war began. The battle was unfavorable for Anteku's side. One by one, they fell at the hands of the CCG troops. Even Irimi ended up about to be killed. Luckily, Kaneki arrived just in time. He managed to save her just before the CCG members could kill her. Kaneki's appearance seemed to bring fresh air to Anteku's side. He easily defeated the CCG members before taking Koma and Irimi to a safer place. After that, he went to Anteku to save the manager, but unfortunately, was intercepted by Amon. Meanwhile, the manager himself is busy facing opponents who are really determined to attack him, especially Juzo. He launched a barrage of attacks on him, though in the end he was still no match for the manager. Seeing that, Shinohara then thought about how he could match the rhythm of Juzo's attack. While he was thinking, Shinohara suddenly remembered Mato, who once said that he must understand his partner's mindset and behavior when fighting. The memory made Shinohara aware of his lack, and so he immediately launched a combination attack with Juzo. With the many enemies attacking him from various directions, coupled with his not young age, the manager was finally defeated. On the verge of death, the manager saw Ukina come as if to pick him up. But the death of the manager did not necessarily end the battle. Because next, the CCG troops must face Edo, the true leader of Aogiri, who suddenly appeared after her father's death. Without further ado, Edo immediately attacked Shinohara, who was near her. Shinohara and Juzo tried to fight back, until finally Juzo was almost fatally attacked, forcing Shinohara to save him by sacrificing himself. Seeing Shinohara seriously injured seemed to make something inside Juzo change. His eyes went blank, and then he screamed hysterically. That's very reasonable. Even though Juzo doesn't care about death, after all, Shinohara is the one who nurtures and educates him, and now that man was dying in front of him. However, the fight worsens for CCG after Noro, Totara, Ayato, and Aogiri's troops come into the scene and repulse the CCG troops. And at the same time, Hide also got there, even though he ended up injured. On the other hand, the battle between Kaneki and Amon is still going on fiercely. In the middle of the fight, Kaneki, who still has high humanity, managed to save a CCG member who was almost crushed by a power pole. Even so, he continued the fight so he could go to Anteku. And now he started fighting seriously, to the point that he could easily break one of Amon's fingers. In the end, Kaneki managed to defeat Amon, though he was also injured in the process. His injuries were severe enough to make him faint. Meanwhile, the battle between CCG and Edo is still dominated by Edo. But then, the CCG members find hope again after their strongest investigator, Arima, joins the fight against Edo. The situation is now reversed. Edo is seriously injured by Arima's attacks, forcing her to retreat with the rest of Aogiri. At the same time, Toka finally found out about CCG's attack on Anteku. She immediately rushed over there, ignoring Yomo, who had forbidden her to go. Kaneki himself was now awake in Anteku, with Hide already beside him. Thinking that Hide still doesn't know that he is a ghoul, Kaneki immediately tries to cover his ghoul eyes. His actions forced Hide to reveal that he had known for a long time that Kaneki was a ghoul, more precisely since Nishiki attacked them both. Hide is indeed very sensitive. He knows that Kaneki is sad now thinking about all the situations around him, and so he tries to cheer him up by recalling the good memories when Kaneki was still working at Anteku. But then, Hide finally reached his limit. He winced in pain as the wound got worse. More and more blood came out before he finally collapsed on Kaneki's arm. Unable to bear to see his best friend dying, Kaneki brought Hide before Arima so he could be treated immediately. Unbeknownst to him, Toka was watching him from a distance. But when she was about to approach Kaneki, Yomo stopped her. Before the manager died, he did tell Yomo to look after her, and Yomo wanted to respect his last order. So, Toka could only watch as Kaneki walked slowly while carrying Hide's body and surrendering himself to CCG. At the end of the anime, Toka is seen opening a new shop. And with that, Tokyo Ghoul Season 2 ended. The moral that we can take from this anime is that if you find a beautiful girl or guy and are attracted to them, make sure they are not dangerous people before asking them out.